reaction to the MoveOn.org ad that mocked General Petraeus as General Petraeus, said that he cooked the books on Iraq? And secondly, would you like to see Democrats, including presidential candidates, repudiate that ad?
I thought the ad was disgusting. And I felt like the ad was an attack not only on General Petraeus, but on the U.S. military. And I was disappointed that not more leaders in the Democrat Party spoke out strongly against that kind of ad. And that leads me to come to this conclusion, that most Democrats are afraid of irritating a left-wing group like MoveOn.org, are more afraid of irritating them than they are of irritating the United States military. That was a sorry deal. And it's one thing to attack me. It's another thing to attack somebody like General Petraeus.
Finally tonight, as promised, a special comment on Mr. Bush's smear today of MoveOn.org, and in a larger context, his smear of criticism of his own political frontmen. With the president behaving a little more than usual, like we'd all interrupted him while he was watching his favorite cartoons on the DVR, stepped before the press conference microphone, and after sidestepping most of the substantive issues, like the Israeli raid on Syria, in condescending and infuriating fashion, produced a big wow political finish that indicates certainly that if it was not already, the annual Republican witch hunting season is underway. I thought the ad was disgusting. I felt the ad was an attack not only on General Petraeus, but on the U.S. military, and I was disappointed that not more leaders in the Democrat Party spoke out strongly against that kind of ad. And that leads me to come to this conclusion, that most Democrats are afraid of irritating a left-wing group like MoveOn.org, or more afraid of irritating them than they are of irritating the United States military. That was a sorry deal. First off, it's Democratic Party, sir. You keep pretending you're not a politician, so stop using words your party made up. Show a little respect. Secondly, you could say this seriously after the advertising mugging of Senator Max Cleland, after the swift voting of John Kerry. But most importantly, making that the last question, a plant, so that there was no chance at a follow-up. And so nobody could point out, as Chris Matthews did so incisively a week ago tonight, that you were the one who inappropriately interjected General Petraeus into the political dialogue of this nation in the first place. Deliberately, premeditatedly, and virtually without precedent, you shanghaied a military man as your personal spokesman, and now you're complaining about the outcome and then running away from the microphone?
Let me ask you, Joe, what's your estimate of the statement by General Petraeus yesterday? Some people call it honesty, candor, whatever you call it, when he was asked, is this war and this blood and treasure we're losing over in Iraq making us safer at home? He said, I don't know. I can't imagine Ike having said that at D-Day.
Well, you know what? It was the truth. It's what he really believed. And then a really funny thing happened. I was in the room. They went into recess, and clearly someone from the White House called him up and said, "Are you kidding me?" And when he came back, he was asked another question by a senator, and he went back to that statement. Right. And he corrected himself and said he hadn't thought it through or whatever. I think that both Crocker and Petraeus...
Well, that's sort of like Charlie McCarthyism, right, isn't it? I mean, are they using this guy as their puppet? They said he's speaking independently, and immediately he gets off, or what do they say, off the talking points.
I think it's...
John F. Kerry was never in Vietnam. You know, John Kerry pissed a lot of us Shriners off when he talked about his so-called Vietnam service.
I watched Good Morning Vietnam, Platoon, Delta Force, Deer Hunter. You know, Kerry wasn't in any of them. No matter how many times I paused it or where I paused it, I didn't see Kerry once in any of them. And I started thinking, was Kerry even in Vietnam?
People in the press are saying George Bush didn't serve in Vietnam. Well, that's a complete and utter lie. In Vietnam was not captaining a swift boat, but was captaining a pleasure yacht, a 16-foot starcraft cruising around.
Sponsored by Sons of People Who Know Karl Rove for Truth.
Did you ever see on August 20th, 2004, St. Louis Dispatch editorial wrote the following: "The smear campaign was funded and orchestrated by a coterie of Texans with strong ties to the Bush family and the president's political director, Karl Rove. The president should disown the ads and tell his friends that he wants them to stop. Mr. Bush can't wash his hands of the Swift Boat veteran smear because of his close personal connections with the principals. The Swift Boat veterans on Mr. Kerry's boat, including the man he pulled from the river, support Mr. Kerry's version of events. So do the records documenting the medals Mr. Kerry received. The attack ads, by contrast, are riddled with inconsistencies. For example, it goes on, that was in your own newspaper, in your hometown. But a month later, you nevertheless contribute to that very group that is smearing and spreading lies.
Yes, sir. All of the 527s were smearing lies, and
so you see no responsibility as an individual citizen to try to guarantee that you're not going to support that kind of politics of personal destruction.
I think if one side is giving to, the other side almost have to, and I think that the real responsibility should rest with the Congress to either ban 527s or to certainly curtail and regulate them. That's the problem.
So you do believe anything goes in a political campaign?
I'm sorry?
You do believe that anything goes in a political campaign?
No, sir, I don't. In fact, I do not.
Well, if you don't believe it, why would you not fund it?
I'm sorry, sir.
Senator, if you could sit down with the vice president and have a direct one-on-one meeting with him, what would you say to him?
Where the hell were you in the Vietnam War? If you would have gone to Vietnam like the rest of us, maybe you would have learned something about war. You can't keep troops on the ground forever. They got to have a mission. They got to have a purpose. You can't keep sending them back and back and back with no mission and no purpose. As a matter of fact, the real enemy is Al-Qaeda. It's Al-Qaeda stupid. It's not in Iraq. That's why we have to withdraw the ground forces there, settle Iraq with a diplomatic solution, and go after Al-Qaeda. That's what we should have been doing for the last 4 years. Instead, this administration and this vice president and this president wants to send more troops to Iraq. Unbelievable.
And what would you say to the president?
You screwed up royally when you said 4 years ago, major combat over, mission accomplished, bring them on. That means you should have gone to Vietnam and learned that you don't challenge guerrillas that way, people who want to blow themselves up just to take you out. That's exactly what we got going on in Iraq. That's what we got going on in Afghanistan. We're in deep trouble, and we're not even chasing the enemy. We're just bogged down in Baghdad with no hope of getting out under this administration.
And the war is over. Into Market Street for great joy. For this day, November 11th, 1918, marks the end of an era of hate and bloodshed and violence. It's the beginning of peace and goodwill on earth. And those who have died have not died in vain. They've died to make the world safe for democracy. They've swept to victory in the war to end war. And so San Francisco celebrates in 1918 because the war is over and there'll never be another.
We cannot let terrorists and rogue nations hold this nation hostile or hold our allies hostile.
My answer is bring them on. Bring them on.
Bring them on.